Jem lived a quiet life. He was not special. He worked at a small repair shop fixing machines. Most days were the same. He would drink his tea, walk to work, and come back home before the sun went down. He had no big dreams. He did not want to be a hero or travel the stars. He only wanted peace. But peace was not made to last forever. It all started on a cold evening. The sky was clear, and the stars looked closer than usual. Jem was walking back from work. His bag felt heavy on his back, and his feet were sore. He looked up at the stars. Just to pass time, when something strange happened, a light appeared in the sky. At first, it looked like a shooting star, but it didn't fall in a straight line. It turned, curved, and slowed down. It was not a star at all. Jem watched, frozen in place. The light moved closer and closer. It was coming down fast, but it didn't crash. It floated gently to the field outside the town. Jem didn't know why, but he started walking toward it. The field was quiet. Cold air moved through the tall grass. He saw the thing that had come down. It was not large. It looked like a small pod, silver and smooth. Steam rose from the sides. Then, with a softness, the door opened. Jem took a step back. His heart beat faster. He had seen enough vids to know this was not normal. Still, he didn't run. A figure stepped out of the pod. She was not like anyone he had seen before. She looked human, but not quite. Her skin was a soft silver color, her eyes too bright for night. Like glowing gems, her hair flowed like silk and changed color in the moonlight. She wore a suit that shimmered with each step. Jem opened his mouth, but no sound came out. She looked at him, her eyes wide and curious. Then she smiled. "Hello," she said. Her voice was soft, musical. Jem blinked. "Hope you are not afraid," she said. "I think I should be," he answered. She tilted her head, amused. "I am not here to harm you." "Good to know." She walked closer, slow and calm. "My name is Mira. I come from a world far from here." Jem nodded slowly. "I'm Jem. I come from this town. I fix machines." Mira smiled again. "I crashed. I need help." Jem looked at the pod. "Looks like it. I can take a look." He didn't know what he was doing, or why he was even talking so calmly. This was not normal. A strange ship, a girl from the stars, and he was acting like it was just another machine to fix. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was something else. Mira followed him back to town. She moved like she had no fear, no worry. She looked at everything with wonder. Street lights, small houses, the way the trees moved in the wind. To her, everything was new. Jem brought her to his small garage. It was full of tools, old machines, wires, and parts. He cleared a space and helped her set the pod inside. "I'll need time," he said. "Your tech is different." "That's fine," she said. "I can wait." He looked at her. She didn't look worried at all. "You don't seem very upset." "I knew I would crash," she said calmly. This was part of the path. Jem stared at her. "You wanted to crash." "Not wanted," she said. "But I knew it would happen. I read it in your mind." Jem's breath caught. "What?" "I can hear thoughts," Mira said simply. "Not all the time. Only when I focus." Jem took a step back. "You were in my head?" "Only a little," she said. "Just enough to know you are safe." Jem felt his face grow warm. "Wait, just now, or before?" "Even before we spoke," she said. "I knew your name before you said it. I knew your job, and I knew you would help me." He rubbed the back of his neck. "That's kind of strange." "Yes," she agreed. "But I like your thoughts." He looked at her. "You like them?" "They were honest," she said. "Simple. You are not afraid of the stars, but you are afraid of being seen. You hide yourself, Jem, but your mind is kind. That's rare." Jem had no idea what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to him. Most people barely noticed him. And here was a girl from another world saying his thoughts were kind. "Do you do this with everyone?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "Only when I'm alone. It helps me feel safe, and you feel safe with me, yes?" Jem didn't know if that was a good thing or a heavy thing to carry. He walked to the pod and ran his fingers along the metal. I'll start with this panel. See if I can open it. Thank you, she said, sitting nearby Dot as he worked. She watched him with calm eyes. She didn't ask many questions. She didn't try to guide him. She just let him do his work. Jem was used to being ignored, not trusted. But somehow, this felt different. After an hour, he stopped. I need more time. Some of these systems are locked. I can't read the code. I can help with that, Mira said. I can guide your mind. Show you the shapes of the code. How does that work? Just think near me, she said. I'll do the rest. It sounded strange, but he nodded. All right. As he looked at the circuit again, he felt something like a breeze inside his thoughts. Not cold, not loud, just a light touch. He saw shapes in his head, bright lines and soft colors. The symbols on the panel started to make sense, not fully, but more than before. He looked at Mira. She smiled. See, she said. Now we are working together. Jem smiled back, surprised at how good that felt. Jem woke up early the next morning. He had not slept much. His mind was full of thoughts about Mira, the girl from the stars. She was sleeping on the small couch in his workshop. She looked peaceful, as if she had always belonged there. Her silver hair shimmered softly in the early light. He made tea and sat by the workbench. The pod still sat in the middle of the room, silent and strange. Jem stared at it, wondering how something like that could even exist. He had seen ships in old space videos, but this one felt different. It felt alive in some way. Mira opened her eyes. She sat up slowly and looked around. Your thoughts are loud in the morning, she said with a small smile. Jem looked surprised. You're already in my head, only a little, she said. I don't mean to do it. It just happens when you think near me. He rubbed the back of his neck. I guess I think a lot. You do, Mira said. But your thoughts are soft, not like others I've met. Jem offered her a cup of tea. She took it with both hands and smelled it. This is warm and sweet. I like it. I drink it every day before work, he said. She nodded. I can see that in your memory. They sat together in silence for a while. The morning light filled the room, and for a moment, everything felt normal, almost like they had known each other for years. So, Jem said, pointing to the pod, what exactly is this thing? Mira sipped her tea and looked at the pod. It's a mind-link vessel. It listens to my thoughts and moves as I guide it. But when I entered Earth's sky, the waves were too strong. It lost balance and shut down. That explains the crash, Jem said. But I've never heard of ships that run on thought. On my world, Mira said, we do not use buttons or wires. We use connection, mind to machine. Jem leaned forward. Can I learn that? She looked at him carefully. You already are. Yesterday, when we fixed the panel together, you felt the flow. You saw the shapes. I thought I was just dreaming, he said. No, Mira replied. You were joining. He felt a small chill. Not fear, but excitement, something deep. In him was waking up, a part of him that had always wanted to do more than fix broken tools and replace old wires. Mira stood up and walked over to the pod. Let's try again. This time, I'll guide you deeper. Jem stood beside her. All right, what do I do? Place your hand on the panel, she said. Then close your eyes. Let your thoughts move. Like water. He did as she said. The metal felt warm under his hand. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. At first, there was nothing. Then he felt it a light pull, like wind through grass. Colors formed in his mind, not real colors, but shapes of feeling. Blue thoughts, gold lines, moving symbols. He followed them. Mira's voice came into his thoughts, not spoken, but felt. You are doing well. Now think about opening. Jem pictured a door. The shape of it, the sound of it. Slowly, he imagined it opening. A soft click followed. He opened his eyes. The pod's panel had opened. He let out a breath. It worked. Mira smiled. Yes, you connected. Jem looked inside the open panel. Wires that looked like vines, small glowing stones, and a soft light pulsing in the center. This doesn't look like any machine I've ever fixed. It's not just machine, Mira said. It's part of me. Jem looked at her. You mean, it's alive, in a way. She said, it remembers, it responds, but it does not think. That part is mine. Jem nodded slowly, and now I'm part of it too. She stepped closer. You are now part of my link. That doesn't happen often. Only when the mind is open. He felt his heart beat faster. Is that good? It is rare, Mira said, and special. Jem didn't know what to say, so he just smiled. Well, I've always wanted to be special. Mira tilted her head. You already were. You just didn't see it. They spent the day working on the pod. Mira helped him understand more of the system. She didn't explain with words. She showed him through shared thoughts, images, feelings. And patterns danced through his mind. And each time, he understood a little more. By sunset, the pod's core was humming. It was not ready to fly, but it was healing. Jem looked at it with pride. You're doing great, Mira said. You're the teacher. He said. She looked at him with quiet eyes. You learn fast. They sat outside the workshop as night came. Stars filled the sky again. Mira looked up with longing. Do you miss your world? Jem asked. Sometimes, she said. But I was always meant to leave it. Why? To learn, she said. To find something I could not find at home. Jem looked at her. Did you find it? Mira looked at him. Maybe I did. He looked away, unsure what to say. She leaned back and closed her eyes. Your mind is quiet tonight. I guess I'm just thinking slower. I like it, she said. It makes me feel calm. They sat in silence again. The stars blinked above them. Jem looked at Mira. What happens when your pod is fixed? I fly again. She said, to the next world, or maybe home. Jem felt something heavy in his chest. He didn't know why. He had only met her yesterday, but it already felt like she belonged here, like she belonged with him. Do you always leave so soon? He asked. I never stay long, Mira said. Most minds cannot hold the link. They become afraid or confused, but not mine. No. Yours is steady. That's rare. He looked down. Maybe I just don't think too much, she laughed. Softly. No, you think deeply, but you don't lie to yourself. Jem smiled. Well, I guess that's something. Mira looked at him with soft eyes. It is. They sat together until the stars moved across the sky. No words, just quiet. Thoughts. And for the first time in a long while, Jem didn't feel alone. Mira stood by the window of Jem's workshop, watching the rain fall. It had started early in the morning. Light drops at first, then a steady shower. Jem was still asleep on the floor beside his workbench, a blanket over him and a small lamp still glowing beside his head. She listened to his thoughts. They were soft, like music. Not loud or wild, but steady. Even when he dreamed, his mind stayed kind. She had traveled too many worlds, met many minds. But Jem's was different. His mind had space. It welcomed her without fear. Jem woke slowly, blinking at the ceiling. You're already awake. Yes, she said. I don't sleep as much as you do. He sat up and stretched. Lucky you. I feel like I was hit by a truck. What is a truck? Mira asked. Jem smiled. It's like a big metal box. On wheels. Loud. Smelly. It moves stuff. She nodded slowly. Sounds useful. Sometimes, he said, rubbing his eyes. Other times it just blocks traffic. Mira turned back to the window. Your world is loud. Your machines scream. Jem walked over and stood beside her. We're not good at silence. But you are, Mira said. Looking at him, you hold silence in your thoughts. You don't try to fill it with noise. I guess I like quiet, he said. I can feel that, she said softly. They stood there together, watching the rain. The world outside looked gray and still. But inside the workshop, something bright was growing between them. Later that day, Jem brought out a small metal box. He placed it on the table and opened it. Inside were old parts, wires, and tools. This is my first toolkit, he said. Got it when I was 10. My uncle gave it to me. Mira looked at the tools with interest. You kept them all these years. Yeah, I fix things. That's just what I do. Even people? She asked. Jem looked at her, surprised. I don't know about that. She touched one of the tools. Sometimes minds break, not like machines. But still, they stop working right. Has that happened to you? He asked. She nodded once. Long ago. That's why I left my world. I needed space to fix myself. Jem said nothing. He just nodded. Somehow, he understood. You didn't always need big words to say something important. They spent the next few hours working on the pod again. Jem followed her thoughts like a map. She didn't speak instructions. She just opened her mind, and he followed, together. They worked in perfect rhythm. One thought flowed into the next. Hands moved without question. Tools found the right spots. When the main core lit up fully, Mira stepped back. It's almost ready, she said. Just one more cycle. Then it can't fly again. Jem stared at the pod. It now pulsed with steady light. It looked more alive than ever. But part of him wished it would take longer to fix. Mira felt his thought. You don't want me to leave. He looked down. Is it that easy to read me? Now, she walked closer. You don't hide anything. That's not a weakness. I've been alone for a long time, Jem said. I got used to people not staying. I stayed. She said, for now. He replied. Mira paused. Do you want me to stay longer? Jem shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. But I know you're not meant to stay. She sat down near the pod. My journey is no fixed end. I don't follow a line. I follow the pull. Jem looked at her. And what are you feeling now? She closed her eyes. I feel peace and warmth. That's rare. He sat beside her. Then maybe. Don't leave so soon. They sat quietly for a while, listening to the sound of rain hitting the roof. The workshop felt like a little world of its own, untouched by the outside. I have something for you, Mira said suddenly. She stood up and walked to the pod. She touched a small panel. In a drawer open from it, she took a small crystal. It glowed softly with blue light. She handed it to Jem. What is it? He asked. It's a memory crystal, she said. It holds moments, thoughts, feelings. If you press it to your skin, you can feel what I recorded inside. Jem held it gently. You made this for me. Yes, she said. I put our time together in it. So even if I leave, you'll remember. Jem looked at her, eyes wide. This means a lot. She smiled. You mean a lot. He didn't know what to say. His chest felt tight, not with sadness, but with something deeper, something warm. That night, Jem couldn't sleep. He stood outside, looking at the sky. Stars blinked softly above him. He thought about Mira. How strange it was that she had fallen from the sky and into his quiet life. How fast she had become important. Mira joined him. She didn't say anything, just stood beside him, watching the same sky. He turned to her. When you look at the stars, do you see home? She shook her head. I see stories. Each star is a place I've touched, a mind I've known. And what will Earth be to you? She looked at him. Earth will be the place I found stillness, a mind I didn't want to leave. He swallowed hard. Then maybe, don't leave. Yet, Mira took his hand. I'll stay, until your mind asks me to go. Jem smiled. Then I guess you'll be here a while. They stood together under the stars. Rain had stopped. The sky was clear again, and in that moment, without words, they both knew something rare had started, a connection that didn't need questions or answers, just a minds, quiet and true. Days passed quietly. The rain stopped, and sunlight returned. Jem and Mira spent most of their time inside the workshop, working on the pod and sharing thoughts. Jem had never been so calm, even while doing difficult repairs. There was something about Mira's presence that made everything feel lighter. Every day, she taught him something new, not with books or long talks, but with simple thoughts and shared images. He had learned how to listen beyond words. He had learned how to focus not only with his eyes but also with his mind. Jem no longer used tools the same way. His hands moved. With care, his thoughts guided his work. Machines listened to him now, not because he forced them, but because he understood them. All of this had started the moment Mira walked into his life. On the 6th day, the pod was almost fully restored. It now stood quietly in the corner of the workshop, humming softly, ready for travel. Its color had changed too. It no longer looked like a lost piece of metal. It glowed with life. Jem looked at it, with a strange feeling in his chest. He should have felt proud. The pod was fixed. The job was done. But instead, he felt something like a quiet sadness. Mira noticed. "You're thinking about the end," she said softly. He nodded. "It feels like something is ending. Even though I know you said you'll stay as long as my mind wants you to." She stepped closer. "Thoughts can change. I understand that. But mine have not changed either." He looked at her. "What are you thinking now?" "That this place feels like home," she said. "Not the walls. Not the machines. But your mind. It feels safe here." Jem smiled a little. "That's funny, because I always thought I was a mess." "Your thoughts are not perfect," she said. "But they are honest. That is rare." Jem sat down near the pod and looked around the workshop. "This place has always been my whole world. Just machines, broken things, and silence. But since you came, I feel like there's more. Like I'm waking up from a long dream." Mira sat beside him. "Sometimes it takes another mind to show you your own." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Jem stood up and walked to a shelf. He picked up a small metal bird, something he had made years ago from leftover parts. It didn't fly, but the wings moved when you turned the small gear on its back. He handed it to Mira. "What is this?" she asked. "It's a gift," he said. "Not like your crystal, but something I made with my hands." She turned the gear, and the wings moved. Her eyes lit up with wonder. "It's beautiful. It's simple," Jem said. "But I made it with care." She looked at him. "That makes it special." She held the bird close, like it was made of gold. Jem had never seen anyone treat his work like that before. Most people just said thanks and moved on. But Mira held it as if it meant something more. Later that day, Mira asked if they could walk through the town. Jem was unsure at first. "You'll get a lot of attention," he said. "I can hide the glow." She replied, "I've done it before." So they went out. Mira wore a long coat and pulled a soft scarf over her hair. Her eyes still looked too bright, but people were busy with their own lives. No one looked too closely. They walked by the market, where people sold fresh fruit and old books. Jem usually avoided this place. Too many voices, too much noise. But with Mira beside him, it didn't feel loud at all. She touched the oranges on the table, smiled at the sound of children laughing nearby, and stopped to listen to a street musician playing a soft tune on a wooden flute. "Your world is full of feeling," she said. "You think so? Your people carry so much in their minds," she said. "Worry, joy, memory. It fills the air." Jem smiled. "Most of them don't even notice it." "I do," Mira said. "And now you do too." They walked to the edge of the river, where the sun hit the water and turned it gold. Mira knelt and touched the surface with her fingers. She watched the ripples. "I never stayed on one world this long," she said. "Why not?" Jem asked. "Too many thoughts," she said. "Too much pain in some places, fear in others. I always left before it became heavy. But not here." She shook her head. "Not with you." Jem looked at the sky. "What happens when your people find you?" "They won't," she said. "My signal is off. I left them by choice." He looked at her. "You ran away." She nodded. "In a way. I wanted to find something real. Not orders, not rules." "Did you?" Mira looked at him and gave the smallest smile. "Yes." They walked back slowly. The town lights began to turn on as the sky darkened. People passed by, but no one noticed that something unusual was happening between two quiet minds. Back at the workshop, Mira placed the metal bird beside her crystal on the shelf. "Two memories," she said. "One from you, one from me." Jem sat on the floor, his back against the wall. "Do you ever worry about forgetting?" "No," she said. "As long as the feeling stays, the memory lives." He nodded. "Then I'll remember too." She sat beside him and closed her eyes. Jem felt her thoughts reach toward his, gentle and clear. "You don't need to speak. I hear you. Even the things I don't say." He thought back, especially those. That night, Jem dreamed of stars. But this time, He wasn't watching them from far away. He was flying among them, not alone, but with Mira beside him. No machines, no noise, just shared light. When he woke, the pod was humming again, louder now, as if calling for attention. Mira stood beside it, her hand on its surface. "It's ready," she said. Jem felt his heart sink. But he nodded. "I know." She looked at him. "But I'm not going yet." He looked up. "No, I want one more day," she said. "One more with you." And just like that, the quiet sadness in Jem's chest softened. Not gone, but gentle. Because he knew something now. No matter what happened next, their minds had already touched in a way that no distance could erase. The next morning, sunlight filled the workshop with warm light. Jem was already awake, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. Mira was still resting on the small couch. Her breathing was calm and even, but Jem could sense her mind. Stirring gently, he reached for the small crystal she had given him. The blue light pulsed softly in his hand. He closed his eyes and touched it to the skin. A wave of feelings washed over him, quiet moments of laughter, the soft sound of rain, the smell of fresh earth after a storm. Jem smiled. Even though Mira was still here, the crystal made her feel close even when she was not. Mira woke and sat up slowly. "You're already awake," she said. "I couldn't sleep well," Jem admitted. "Too many thoughts." She nodded. "Your mind is active in the morning. It listens to everything." Jem looked at her. "Can you teach me to slow it down? To calm it?" Mira smiled softly. "Yes, but it is not about stopping thoughts. It is about watching them, like clouds in the sky." He thought about that and nodded. "I want to try." They spent the morning practicing. Jem closed his eyes and imagined his thoughts as clouds drifting across the sky of his mind. Some were bright and light, others were dark and heavy. He watched them without chasing or pushing. Mira's voice came softly inside his mind. "Good. Now breathe with the clouds. Let them pass." He followed her guidance slowly. The rush inside him eased. His mind felt lighter. He opened his eyes and smiled. "This is something new," Jem said. "I never thought I could feel peace like this." Mira looked at him with quiet joy. "Peace is always inside you. You just needed to find it." After lunch, they returned to the pod. Mira sat beside the core and closed her eyes. Jem watched. As the light around the pod brightened, pulsing with energy, suddenly, the pod hummed louder. A soft voice echoed inside Jem's mind. It was not Mira's voice, but something else. "Do you hear that?" Jem asked. Mira's eyes opened slowly. "Yes, it is the pod's consciousness waking." "Consciousness?" Jem said. "Like a mind." "Yes," Mira said. "The pod is linked to me, but it also has its own awareness. It learns, it feels." Jem reached out and touched the smooth surface. The light responded, moving beneath his fingers like water. "I never thought machines could feel," Jem said softly. "They can," Mira said, "when they connect with minds like ours." For a while, Jem and Mira sat quietly, listening to the pod's soft hum. It was like the heartbeat of something alive. Suddenly, the pod projected a small hologram in the air. It showed a star map, glowing with points of light. Mira reached out to the map, her fingers tracing the lines. "This is the path I follow," she said. "Each star is a place I have visited. Each point is a mind I have connected with." Jem looked closer. Some of the stars had names. Some were marked with symbols he did not understand. "Where is Earth?" Jem asked. She smiled softly. "Here." She pointed to a small blue dot near the center. "And here." She pointed to another star far away. "This is my home world." Jem traced the line between Earth and the distant star. "How far?" "Far." Mira said. "Too far for simple travel. But with the pod, I can move quickly. Mind to machine." Jem nodded slowly. "And what about the other stars? Places of learning," she said. "Sometimes good, sometimes hard, but always a part of my journey." He looked at her. "Will you take me with you one day?" Mira's eyes shone. "Maybe, if your mind is ready." Jem smiled. "I want to be ready." The hologram faded. Mira stood up and stretched. "We have one more thing to do before I can leave." Jem looked at her. "What's that?" She walked to a small console and pressed a few buttons. The pod's light changed colors. It shifted from blue to green, then to a soft gold. This is the memory transfer, Mira explained. I will share a part of my mind with the pod. It will hold my thoughts, my feelings, my knowledge, so I can carry them with me. Jem watched as the pod's core glowed brighter. He felt a gentle pulse in his own mind. It was like a soft touch, a whisper of something deep and old. Do you feel that? Mira asked. Jem nodded. It's like the pod is alive with your mind. Yes, she said. It will keep me connected to you, no matter where I go. Jem reached out and touched her hand. I don't want to lose you. She squeezed his hand gently. You won't, because I'm part of the pod now, and you are part of my mind. They stood together in the glowing light, two minds connected through machine and thought. Later that night, Jem dreamed again. This time, the dream was clear and warm. He was flying through the stars with Mira, the pod shining beside them. They moved effortlessly between worlds, sharing thoughts and feelings like a song. When he woke, the workshop was quiet. Mira was gone, but the small crystal on the shelf glowed softly. Jem smiled and touched the crystal. He could feel her still. Here, in the light, and the thoughts that filled his mind, and he knew this was only the beginning. Jem sat quietly in his workshop, the soft glow of the crystal beside him casting gentle light across the room. Mira had been gone for some hours now, but her presence still lingered in his mind like a warm breeze on a cool morning. The pod hummed, softly in the corner, alive with the memory they had shared. He touched the crystal again and felt the gentle rush of her thoughts. It was strange to feel someone so near, yet so far away. His heart felt full, but also heavy with the weight of what was to come. Suddenly, the pod's core brightened, sending waves of light across the room. Jem stood up quickly, his eyes wide. The pod was calling. It was time. He walked over to the pod and ran his hand along its smooth surface. The machine felt alive beneath his touch. A soft voice echoed in his mind. Not Mira's, but the pod's own, a new consciousness born from their connection. Are you ready? The pod's voice asked gently. Jem hesitated for a moment. Ready for what? To begin the journey, the pod replied. To see the stars, to meet new minds, and to learn what lies beyond Earth. Jem took a deep breath and nodded. I'm ready. With that, the pod's door opened slowly, inviting him inside. Jem climbed in carefully, the inside of the pod, warm and comforting. Lights flickered softly, and a soft hum filled the space. Mira's voice came through the crystal. I'm with you, Jem, always. He smiled and pressed the crystal to his forehead. Her thoughts flowed into him like a gentle stream. It was more than comfort, it was courage. The pod lifted off smoothly, rising through the roof of the workshop and into the open sky. Jem watched as the world below grew smaller, the trees, the river, the small town all fading into the distance. The stars above sparkled brightly, more alive than Jem had ever seen them. The pod moved toward them, faster than any ship Jem had ever imagined. Inside the pod, Jem's thoughts raced. What would he find among the stars? What minds would he meet? Would he ever see Mira again? Suddenly, the pod slowed near a glowing blue star. The screen inside showed a map with many points of light, each representing a different mind, a different world. Where are we? Jem asked. This is one of the first stops, the pod replied. A place of knowledge and peace. Jem felt excitement mixed with nervousness. He was leaving the world he knew, stepping into the unknown. The pod's door opened in the new world. Jem stepped out carefully. The air was soft and clean. The sky was a deep violet, filled with stars and to moons. He saw creatures moving nearby, tall and graceful, with gentle eyes. They smiled at him, their thoughts clear and welcoming. Welcome, traveler, one said inside Jem's mind. We have been waiting for you. Jem smiled, feeling a strange calm. I am Jem. I come from Earth. The creature nodded. We know. Mira told us about you. Jem's heart warmed. Mira had already prepared this place for him. It was a safe place to learn, to grow. For days, Jem stayed there, learning about the world and its people. He shared his thoughts and listened to theirs. The creatures taught him to see the stars differently, to feel the connection between all things. One evening, Jem sat beneath the two moons, feeling the peace of the world around him. He touched the crystal and heard Mira's soft voice. "How are you?" she asked. "Better," Jem said. "I am learning so much, but I miss Earth." "You will go back," she said. "But first, you must see more." Jem smiled. "I want to see it all." The next morning, the pod called again. Jem stepped inside, ready for the next part of the journey. The pod moved faster now, jumping through star systems. Jem saw worlds of light and shadow, oceans of crystal, and cities floating in the sky. Each place held new minds and new stories. At one point, the pod slowed near a star surrounded by rings of ice. Jem stepped out and met a group of travelers' minds, shaped like stars, glowing with ancient wisdom. They shared stories of their travels and taught Jem how to open his mind even wider. Jem felt himself growing stronger, more open. But even in the beauty of new worlds, Jem's thoughts often returned to Mira. He felt her close, always a step ahead on the path. One day, as the pod hovered near a green world full of forests, Jem heard Mira's voice suddenly clear in his mind. "Jem, I have something to show you." The pod's core glowed softly. Jem felt the pull of a new path. "Follow me," Mira's voice said. Without hesitation, Jem set the pod on the new course. The journey ahead was unknown, but Jem was ready. With Mira's mind beside his and the stars before him, he knew he would find what he was looking for. And maybe, just maybe, he would find himself too. The pod moved silently through the endless stars. Jem felt the steady hum beneath him, a gentle rhythm that matched his own heartbeat. Mira's thoughts flowed beside his, calm and strong, guiding him through the vast darkness. This was the moment. Jem had waited for, the final step in a journey that had changed him in ways he never imagined. He was no longer just a man from Earth repairing machines. He was a traveler of minds, a seeker of stories, a friend to worlds beyond his own. The pod slowed as it approached a bright star surrounded by soft blue clouds. Mira's voice echoed inside Jem's mind. "This is it, Jem, the place I want to share with you." Jem felt a mixture of excitement and peace. He pressed the crystal to his forehead, letting her thoughts wash over him like warm light. The pod's door opened, and Jem stepped out onto soft, glowing grass. The sky above shimmered with colors he had never seen before, shades of purple and gold, moving like waves in the air. Ahead, a group of beings waited. They were tall and radiant, their eyes filled with kindness. They welcomed Jem without words, their minds open and welcoming. "You have come far," one said gently inside Jem's mind. "You carry the light of many worlds." Jem smiled. "I have learned so much, but I still have many questions." The being nodded. "Questions are the path to wisdom. Here, you will find answers." Jem spent days in that place, walking among glowing trees and listening to stories carried on the wind. Each story was a thread in a great tapestry, connecting every mind, every world. Mira stayed close, her thoughts blending with the light around them. Jem felt stronger with her beside him, as if their minds were one. One evening, Jem sat by a crystal river that sang softly. Mira's voice came to him, gentle but clear. "Jem, it is time to decide." He looked at her. Decide what? To stay here and learn, or to return to Earth? Jem's heart tightened. The journey had been wonderful, but he missed his home, the small town, the workshop, the simple life he had before. "But what if I am different now?" he asked. "What if I do not belong anymore?" Mira smiled softly. "You belong wherever your mind finds peace. Home is not a place, it is a feeling." Jem thought deeply. He knew she was right. He had changed, but the love for his home, for the people he knew, had not faded. "I want to go back," he said quietly. "But with what I have learned, with you." Mira reached out and took his hand. "Then we will go together." The beings round them smiled, their light growing brighter. Jem felt the warmth of a new family, a new beginning. The pod waited nearby, ready for the journey home. Jem and Mira stepped inside. As the pod lifted, Jem looked back at the glowing world, feeling grateful for the gifts it had given him. The trip through space was quiet. Jem and Mira shared stories and dreams, their minds linked in a way deeper than words. When the pod reached Earth, Jem saw his small town waiting beneath the sky. The river sparkled in the sunlight, the trees waved in the gentle breeze. The pod landed softly in his workshop. Jem stepped out and looked around. Everything was the same. Yet everything had changed. Mira smiled. "Welcome home, Jem." Jem felt a rush of happiness. "I never thought home could feel so new." She nodded. "Because you are new." Together, they walked outside. Jem touched the familiar air and felt it with new eyes. The sounds of life, the colors, the warmth, they were all part of him now. In the days that followed, Jem shared his journey with those who would listen. Not the full story, some things were too vast for words, but the hope, the wonder, the feeling that there was more beyond what anyone could see. Mira stayed with him, her presence a quiet light in the workshop. Together, they repaired machines, shared stories, and dreamed of new adventures. One afternoon, Jem looked at the metal bird he had made long ago. It still sat on the shelf beside Mira's crystal, a symbol of their beginning. He smiled and whispered, "Thank you." Mira's mind answered softly, "Thank you, Jem." The stars above twinkled as if in response. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and friends waiting to be found. Jem knew that no matter where his mind traveled, he would always carry a part of Mira and she would carry a part of him. Their journey was not an end but a new beginning. Together, they would explore the endless sky and the endless thoughts inside them both. And in that, Jem found peace.